out there. I'm Paulson, and this is...
I'm Ben Dombey.
And we're doing a little collaborative demo today. I'm going to flame work a little tiny drawing of an anatomical heart, and then we're going to bring that over to the hot shop.
And I'm going to blow a big bowl, essentially, and we're going to hot cast glass into it and then add the heart inside. And we had Mateo, who's teaching an engraving class, do a little engraving, so we'll put some of his pieces inside and we'll have this nice collaborative experimental piece.
Yep, that is what is going to happen, so long as everything goes right. So I'm going to start in here and start making this thing. So this little heart is going to be made out of a little stringer of glass, a little thread of glass. And glass doesn't really come manufactured in that size of stringer. So I'm going to real quick show you how I pull those little stringers over here on the big torch. So this is a piece of red glass, and it's going to turn clear in the flame, but then when it gets heated up and cooled back down again, it's going to turn red again. So I'm going to heat up just a little section of it and get it super hot and liquid and squishy, and then I'm going to pull it. And I don't need a very long section of it hot because it's really easy to run out of wingspan when you go to try to pull it. So I've got a little tiny section hot, and then I'm just gently stretching while that glass is really squishy, and then as the glass cools down, I'm stretching, pulling harder. And you can see that that glass went from this really dark color to clear, and then it'll go back to red again. So now I have a nice little stringer. I'm going to cut that off over here. Cut it off over here so that I don't forget that it's hot and burn myself on it. So now I'm going to come over here to my little piece of kiln shelf, and on my little piece of kiln shelf I have a drawing of a heart, and I already did the outline of it because I thought that would take kind of a while. So this is what we're going for, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So I have my little outline, and I'm going to do some of the little lines inside of that outline and then attach them to the outline. So I'm going to get the outline out of the way for a little while. And I'm going to start with this line right here because it runs all the way from one side of the shape to the other, and it's attached on both ends. So it'll be really easy to add that in. So I need something to hold my glass down while I'm drawing with it. And the thing that I'm going to use is this little elbow of glass. And it's super easy to weigh down that little elbow. If I push on that, it doesn't go anywhere. Whereas it's really hard to weigh down a rod of glass because it rolls. So I've got my little elbow there. And then I'm going to put that into position over here. Spark up my tiny, tiny, tiny little torch. And this is just a little jeweler's torch. It's not manufactured specifically for glass. So I'm going to start here at this end, and I'm just going to temporarily attach this little stringer to my little elbow there, which is used for holding things down. So I'm going to temporarily attach that and then get out of my own way. And then I'm going to use this torch to just heat up little sections of that rod and push it along the drawing. And as I'm pushing it along the drawing, I can see that drawing show up in the middle of the clear rod. So I'm sort of pushing the rod over the drawing, and then I see the drawing just kind of pop up in there, and then I know that I'm directly over top of it. And I have this piece of kiln shelf on a Lazy Susan. So as I'm drawing, I can push that kiln shelf around so that I can reach everything. So here's one little line. And then I'm going to cut that off with the flame. Whoops. Stick that back together real quick. So since that's a temporary connection, it does sometimes come unstuck a little bit sooner than I'd like it to come unstuck. So there's my little line. And I'm going to break that off from that little elbow and then set that aside. So I've got that line done. And then I'm going to come over here and do this little line right here. So this one also, I'm going from large to small. So this was the longest continuous distance I have, and this is the next longest distance. And I'm going to make the general line and then kind of fill in the details later. And because this stringer is only really structurally sound up to a certain diameter, so if I was trying to do this with tiny little threads, I would end up with a finished object that I couldn't possibly move anywhere. So I do lose a little bit of detail in a drawing, and I have to accommodate my drawing to that loss of detail. And this line looks like it continues all the way down here. But sticking to this 1 millimeter, this is approximately 1 millimeter, I still do get a lot of detail this way. And one good way to figure out whether your drawing has too much detail is to try to draw it in Sharpie marker. This Sharpie marker is about the same diameter as this little rod of glass. So there's one more piece.
Found that out.
I'm going to snap that free. Put that in the pile. And then my next most complicated piece is over here, this little squiggly part. So I'm going to shove this over here, do that little squiggle. And in general, I would use a broader flame for broader bends and a pointier flame for pointier bends. But these are all so tiny that I don't really need to change the shape of my flame very much if I'm working this small. And I'm kind of pushing in different ways. So I can make like a really kind of passive bend where I'm just pushing in one direction, or I can make like a more complex bend where I'm pushing in this direction, but I'm also pushing up. And a lot of times that's how I do little bends like that. I'm going to do that right now. Just push that up a little bit. So there's my little squiggly section. Snap that free. And then, let's see, what makes the most sense? So now I think I have enough structure in there to hold things in place, and I can actually start to work on the details with all the pieces put together. So I'm going to put that heart back onto the drawing and attach those separate pieces that I made. Put this over here. So I'm going to get that registered on top of the drawing somewhere. And I'm going to weigh that down so that it doesn't shift around while I'm trying to attach things to it. And I want to weigh it down in a spot that's not going to interfere with the parts that I'm going to put onto it, which is kind of difficult right now. There's no really good spot. So I'm going to go here first and weigh that down, maybe in 2 spots. And now that's not going to go anywhere while I attach that one part there. And then once that's attached, I can weigh it down from here and get to those other parts. So I made all those parts that are going to go inside that outline. I made them a little bit shorter than they need to be because it's a lot easier to fill a gap with glass than it is to end up with too much glass and have to remove excess. And I'm going to make an even tinier flame to do this. Here, I'll scooch over here so you can see a little better. So I'm just going to tack that in place first and make sure that everything is in the right spot. And that leaves me with a tiny, tiny little gap over on this side. So I'm going to fill that tiny little gap with a little stitch of glass.
What? Turn it off if you don't want anybody to hear you. Oh. Huh.
And then I'm going to get back in there and really weld those parts together
And just get like a nice
so that I have a good connection. If I have any little acute angles in there, it's just going to break right from there. So I want to make sure that the joint that I just made between the two pieces of glass is really smooth. No little spots where I could get my fingernail in under there. So then, let's see. Oh, that's upside down, I think. Yep, that was upside down. So then I'm going to put on this next most detailed, or the next longest piece. Stick that on. Make sure it's in the right spot. And then add a little stitch. Oops. So because that was just tacked in place, it's a really delicate connection, so sometimes it'll come unstuck. But no big deal. It's glass. It's super squishy. You can just move it around where you want it to be. One sort of nice thing about working in borosilicate glass, this is borosilicate, this is soft glass. Borosilicate glass, you can just kind of fix things. You have infinite chances. Soft glass, oftentimes you just have one shot, which is why I'm doing this demo in boro instead of soft glass, and I did the soft glass one at home. So I'm just making sure that my little joints are good there. And then I'm going to put this one last piece in, and then I'm going to start filling in the detail, the smaller detail. So that's tacked in, and then I'm going to weld it. And this kind of working with glass, sometimes it makes me think that it's a lot more like working with metal, because there's a lot of tacking things in place to hold them in place while you're working on them, and then welding them so that you have good connections. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So there's a little spot, I want to fill that in. So now I have the main structure of the heart built up on the inside there, and now I have things to attach to so that I can add details. So I'm going to add those details just wherever I can get to around the weights, and then move the weights around when I need to get to other spots. So here's one little detail. And again, it's much, much easier to fill a gap than to remove excess material. So whenever I get a chance, I'm just going to leave a tiny little gap and then rely on this little piece of filler rod to fill it up. So tack everything in place and then weld it in place. And then one more little spot over here. And the way I did this drawing was I started out with a really detailed drawing, and then I slowly kind of broke it down into larger, less detailed sections so that I could still make it look like a heart. It's kind of like a cartoon anatomical heart. And that's just because I have to work within the constraints of the process, which I actually really enjoy. So that's welded in. And I'm doing the parts that, so I have lines that connect to other lines. It's mostly lines that connect with other lines. So I want to do those first before I get to lines that just kind of hang out into space. And this is scaling up and scaling down sort of come with their own difficulties. So in one sense, making something this tiny is harder, but in another sense, it's really hard to see the mistakes when it's this tiny. So you can kind of get away with a lot more. And the reverse is true when scaling up. So there's one little spot. And then there's a little spot right here where I kind of didn't follow that drawing very well on that first shot. So I'm going to heat up a little section and then push it around. To get it to the right shape. And I've got, I think, 3 more lines that connect to other lines. So I'm going to get those done first, and then start making lines that just hang out in space. So if I was working on a smaller scale, I would tend to draw my inner lines separately because it's easier to keep things flat if you can keep the rod that you're bending with on a flat surface. But with this being so tiny, 1, I can just hit it with the torch and it'll just flop back down to flat, and 2, it's really hard to tell if it's not flat. So let's see, what is the best strategy here? So I'm going to do a couple of these little lines and then put a weight over there and then do these other little lines a little later. And it is somewhat helpful with this sort of process to cultivate a certain amount of ambidexterity. Pull that off and make a little taper. And the problem with glass that's only connected in one spot is that glass wants to, when you heat it up, glass wants to be a ball. So when I heat up that point, it's going to want to shrink back up into a ball. And so that line is going to move away from where I want the line to be. So I'm just going to keep my tweezers on there so that it doesn't go shrinking back up. So there's one little line. Do another little line like that. And then again, I'm going to hold down that little line so it doesn't go anywhere while I'm melting it in.
Yeah, we need that. We gotta keep
So everything else was tacked in place in one spot, tacked in place in another spot, and then welded. And these are just floating
I mean, the lip will thicken up
out in space.
If the lip's real thin.
And I want those to have a little bit of a taper to them, so I'm being pretty careful about how I cut them off. There's one tiny little line. And one more tiny little line over here. And when I'm melting glass on the kiln shelf, I'm almost never pointing the flame straight down at the kiln shelf, because if I do that, my glass is just going to stick right to the kiln shelf. So I'm almost always going across the kiln shelf, and if I am going straight down, I'm being really careful about it, because once the glass is stuck to the kiln shelf, it doesn't really ever come unstuck. You just end up with kiln shelf on your glass. So I've got one more line here that connects to other lines that I didn't get on the first round. And I usually hold, I'm right-handed, so I usually hold the torch in my left hand and the rod of glass in my right hand, because the rod of glass is doing a lot more detail. One more little line over here. And you can see this glass turning a little bit red, a little bit pinkish when I hit it with the flame. And it will turn even redder once I put it in a kiln. So I'm going to put it in a kiln to anneal it. And when I put it in the kiln to anneal it, it will also cause that color to strike into a really bright ruby red, which will be perfect for this heart. So now I'm done with that area, so I can bring a weight over here to hold that down, and then move over here to this one little spot that I missed, that I couldn't get to because those weights were in the way. So this ended up with kind of a lumpy end, so I'm going to pull that off. If you're trying to make really tidy little welds, it helps to have straight sides, so the rod has straight sides and then a tiny little cylinder on the top. If I have anything that's like a ball, I'm going to get a big wad of glass there, and then it's going to be really untidy. And if I have anything that's really pointy, like a cone, it's going to squish into the part that I'm attaching it to, and it's also going to look super untidy. And I don't particularly like that. So I stopped there and cleaned up the end of that rod before proceeding. So that's one tiny little spot, and then there's one more spot left. And then it'll get really exciting because we'll go in the hot shop, where everything is way more exciting. And if something has popped up a little bit, I'll just push it down with my tweezers, get it hot, move it around. There we go. So now we have a little heart. So we'll move that off the drawing so you can see it kind of next to the drawing. So this is exactly, I used the same pattern for this one. So this is the one that we're actually going to take over and use in Hot Shop.
Sweet. Well, let's go
Good?
to the hot shop then.
All right.
Got your tweezers?
Got so many tweezers.
Good.
All the tweezers.
What's up, guys? So now we're in the hot shop. Got my two awesome assistants, Ryan and Ross. Got a big bubble going. We ready? Ready for a gather? Thank you, sir. So we had these guys started this bubble. We're gonna gather a bit more glass over it and make a big kind of petri dish. Beautiful bubble, Ross. Thank you. Think we should do two more on top of this?
It's really stupid, so see what you get on that.
Oh yeah, it's hot because we're casting. Do what?
Broomstick? A Nimbus?
Oh, no.
For old time's sake.
That's probably enough. You want to do one more? 8-inch petri dish.
That?
Maybe a little bigger. Real thick. Wicked thick.
that bubble? We like that bubble?
You like the bubble?
Yeah, fine bubble.
Lucky bubbles?
There's always something wrong with the piece. So there's a bubble in here, you know that's the only flaw.
Thanks, bud. Oh, look at the service. Yeah, I don't think we need more glass. Paper it a bit. Good guys, in my class, it's still the exact same shape. I'm going for that Q-tip. It's all the same, just a lot bigger.
Was that why there was a Q-tip sitting on the marble yesterday?
That is exactly why there's a Q-tip sitting on the Oh, thank you. Can we get one of you guys to start working doors, please, if you don't mind? Ross, let me grab it and give it a little marber.
What?
Give it a little tip marber. Dan, I'm going to head to the marber behind you after this.
You can't work doors from over here.
And then I can pull this leg off.
Take it. You want to give it a little torch and then jack line, or you think you can? You good fingers?
I have my fingers.
Not too much of an angle, bud. If you want, yeah. Beautiful.
I just want to feel like that.
Oh, you guys are doing good service here. And Ryan, we're gonna blow just a bit, please. Blow. Turn a bit faster, please, Ryan. Stop blowing. And crisp that line up one more time. All right, now just heat up to here. We're gonna kind of squat it back a bit. Hold it up for a sec. All right, level. Blow real light, Ryan. Keep going. And stop. Let's rest on the rail and cap it and let it squat one more time. We're almost there. Well, it's gonna tag back on itself. All right, let's take it real light, like a half heat, and do that one more time. Yeah, I'm gonna blow out that tip just a hair more. All right, Ross, let's see what we got, and let's just squat it up a bit more. And Ryan can cap for you too if you want. Blow a bit, Ryan. Stop. All right, let's do one more squatting, and then we're about ready for a punny.
Just gotta get on the left knee off that.
Okay.
Nice.
The most important person in the audience, huh, Ross? You want to just flatten the bottom on this one?
You want?
Or you want to squat it up one more time?
Whatever you want to do.
Let's squat it up one more time.
I actually asked him, like, you want to see Ben's live stream? He's like, yeah. Good.
Who asked? Oh. Southpaw. Weirdo. All right, that looks great, man. Don't let that tag though. I'm gonna pull. All right, can we start flattening the bottom? Can you paddle the bottom, please? Ryan, blow real light. Blow a bit harder, please. Stop. Blow again, please. Push harder, push really hard. Stop blowing, Ryan. Cap, Ryan. There we go.
Okay, spin in a circle, Ryan.
All right, that looks great. Can I see one of these, please? Make a little indentation. Ross, let's just get a nice big old dome. Okay. And Ryan, I'm gonna give this to you. I have to advance that other oven. You good taking a flash? You let me in, please.
How heavy is it? Heavy? Oh, that's not horribly heavy.
It's not horribly heavy. It's got some weight to it. A little bigger than your heart, I think. You think your heart's gonna fit in there?
Pretty sure.
So I'm just making a little bullseye for this punty. We're gonna stick a handle on the bottom of this and then open up this bubble. Take a flash then.
That's kind of why I was standing right there.
Yeah, that looks great. Thank you. That back line could be a little straighter.
Okay, open.
Huh?
So give me your tweezers. Bring it out.
See, Kit blows glass.
That was
Flameworks,
just carrying it around though.
Rockstar. Good?
Everybody at home see it?
I hope so. Bring your back end down a bit, please. Did that really get that off?
What?
How's that look?
It's good. Top is still pretty hot, that's why it went off.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize.
Excellent.
We don't have any air either, do we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we have air?
And there.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I didn't think it was that hot up there. I'll come up on the rail. Dude, come on. Huh?
Straighten this up. Do you want to straighten this?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, it's gonna come off. All right, so give me a little tip heat, and then we'll just start torching that back end and pushing it down with the chips. And we'll paddle the lip kind of hard, please.
Dry or wet?
Dry is fine. If you prefer wet, up to you. It's gonna be hot. Okay.
You want more shit in your arm?
I got this on now. I think I'll be all right. Thanks, Ryan. Will you make sure that kiln is coming up? Should be above 915.
Yeah. Right, 11:05.
Huh?
11:05?
Oh,
1105. That's a little hot.
Oh, no, 10:52, sorry. It's all wrong. Step one, sorry. Gotta do the other way.
It's like, ooh.
All right, demo's over. Next demo is how to chip something off one plate.
So for my class, we haven't really done much lower forms, but I'm going to use the partrophies, the wooden jacks, to actually push with the tips of them to make it a really squat shape. Thank you. This treatment. This is great. Nothing crazy, Ross. In that?
Inside.
Yeah.
Okay.
On.
Back to
let's see if I can get the chokes in there real quick.
Sandwich next time.
So, yeah, 2 paddles? Great. And Ryan, I did appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you can start building up that heat a little further back, but we'll do a lot of it with the torch too. So essentially we're just making a big mold to hold Kit's heart and a few things Matteo made. It'll be a nice collaboration, I think. Experimental collaboration.
Something like that.
Are you getting like torched?
No, it's not that hot right here. I was freezing cold from being in the flame shop.
You want to take over, Ross?
No, I got narrate once. I don't like doing it. After Martin put that ear on that horse, I told the clients we were going to call it Whisper.
On?
It only had one ear. Yep. Nope. The microphone away from me.
All right, I'm going to start torching back here a bit. You good? Hey Ryan, you mind pulling the marver back and putting the tray on it, please? You want someone on the? I don't think we'll need more than that, Doors. Are you good, Zach?
Oh, sweet.
Hopefully not. Nice and flat. So I'll probably just pour a ladle on it.
Okay.
Kit, you'll draw and Ross will flash, and I'll preheat that table.
Oh, okay, we were putting dots on it
Yeah.
shortly?
Once
Before
it's
we-
like done.
Oh, right, because it's other. Oh, yeah.
Lighter on the tip paddle. Stop. Nice. What happened there? We don't need much tip paddle. Let's torch that one more time and move it down. You know more than that. So no paddle on the lip, just the back end. So I've been coming to Corning for 10 years. So I met Ross 10 years ago, my first time in Corning. It was his first time in Corning. It was 10 years ago.
Oh, wait, no, it wasn't.
It was 2009. We always debate about this. Karen told us the truth. It's probably just a few dots. So we're getting
Yeah, I'm not gonna go crazy on the dots.
hobnail the whole thing.
Nobody wants to watch that many dots happen.
Ross, I'm gonna bring the lip in first and then go to the chops.
Wait, is the ladle a lid or is the ladle going
The
inside?
ladle's filling this up.
It's filling it up.
Yes.
Making a big, like,
Yeah, you
Solid.
You thought this whole time you were making a hollow thing?
I just,
Bait
that
and
doesn't tell me
switch.
anything. It's like a mushroom.
Well, you were a little late for our.
This is kept in the dark.
It's fine, you're fine, you're fine. All right, now chops. I want to torch back here and try to get that little ridge out, but that's almost there.
Yeah.
That looks pretty good. One more torch. No, we're breaking it off.
It's gonna be real heavy.
All right, let's try to get that out of there in a little, yeah, but nothing crazy. Can we get someone else to get doors? So I want to push a bit too because it's so indented on the inside. And you're good with just Ross flashing while you drop do some dots?
Yeah.
Nice, bud. Good push. Oh, that was good. Not totally petri dish. I'm gonna go on the side. Just turn fast, please. I think we're gonna go with that. It's not the prettiest shape. I don't think we're gonna get that out now. Or should we try one more time? Do you want to marble it? Let's just try to bring the lip in once.
Okay.
And then we're good. Yeah. On the inside or on the outside? Huh? Yes, please. Oh, yeah, that was good. All right. Yeah, let's push it hard. Bottom, please. And let's just make sure. All right, that's that. All right, that's our Petri-ish dish. Kit, you want to adorn it a bit?
Yeah, we'll put some dots on it.
So Kit's gonna adorn this dish. I'm gonna preheat this big piece of metal over here.
Sorry.
Need gloves?
I think I'll be okay, I think. Oh, sweet.
I'll just hold it. Oh, go to all there. Dan, I'm right behind you. Yeah.
We'll do like a stop and flip. Whoop, ready? Oh man, it's really hot.
Yeah.
It's so hot in here.
Yeah, shield.
That's good.
Sorry, we got interns.
Can you shield my hand that's holding
So I'm
the
using
fork
this glass
also?
just to preheat this piece of
Yeah,
metal.
it will go
That's
back
where
and
we're going to
forth,
put
so
the
that's
bowl and then pour more glass into it and place
So
our
this
components
hand
inside.
right here.
Here, Kit.
Oh. Yeah, thank you.
Right or left? You want a left?
Actually, there's a left one over there that I forgot, or that I didn't think that hand would get hot. All right, so there's that one dot.
Dots right there. You want to flip?
Yeah, let's flip.
Flip.
You grab that other tag, Ryan?
You tell me when you need to flash, and I'll stop putting.
This thing's nice and thick and it's got plenty of heat.
Yeah, it's really hot.
We'll do that one more time. I'm just gonna go. Yeah.
Can you snag me that right glove also? Can you grab the right glove also? It's right over there. Hit this one. Thank you. What's Ben doing? Ben's over there.
Looks like he went to the bathroom.
He went out to get a sandwich.
Oh, there he is.
How you guys doing? I'm just
Good.
preheating our
Good.
table.
Whenever you're done preheating, I can be done putting dots on there.
All right, give me like 1 minute and then we'll do it. You want to glove up to take the bowl to here?
Yep.
Got up?
Oh yeah, there it is. You wanna go halves of those dots?
I'll go like
Yeah, quarter.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much for this part.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we're about ready. I want them to cool off a bit more.
Good?
Yeah, let's just idle it down a little, Ross. It could be pretty cold before we break it off. So we'll put it kind of over here. Kit, you can put your, let's wait till the thing's on, then you can put your butterfly in. Or your heart. Wait till the bowl's on there.
Okay.
Or you can do it. Like right there. You have the tweezers? Ready? Nice dots. Think we're good, Ross? Yeah. We'll water the shit out of it then, huh? Ooh, yeah, dude. I'm sorry. You want a chomp? Yeah, that'd be good. Ryan, where are those casting strips? We will, though.
Flash it, we'll do it. We'll do a lightsaber on it.
I don't know if it's gonna reach though. You bring it over here? Okay. That, it better. I don't want a hole in the bottom. I don't mind a divot. No one's gonna see the bottom. You moving? You got a little motion? I think just a little crimp will be fine. Take one real quick flash. Your gloves hot, right? Should we torch the punny mark? Can you flip it over and I'll meet you over there? The big torch?
Well, you want me to just flip it while you do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we have to switch to over there.
Yeah.
Back end down, please. One more. Grab it, right?
Okay.
Whenever you're ready. Right, so now we're gonna use the glass to hold some more glass.
Beautiful.
I'll be all right. Yeah, Ryan, you do it. There'll be plenty of time to get the leaf. Big one, little. We'll do little stuff. Yeah, we'll do a big one.
Some ambient heat.
Not you yet. And just go ahead, Ryan. Yeah, here, we'll pour another, we'll do another ladle over that.
I like your placement. It's very careful, thoughtful.
Good?
Yeah, yeah.
This means a lot.
The other one? All right, Kit, you're next.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Couldn't have been better. We should have just put fruit in there. What were we thinking?
One more in this one too. You want in there?
Yeah. We might need two more on top of that, too. something. You want to do it? Do it. Whatever you want, Ross. I think we need one more ladle.
I think we do too.
Ladle, ladle, ladle.
You gonna be able to grab this thing?
Lensing.
Do you think that's just magnification, or do you think when the pour hit it, it squished outward?
Little column A, little column B.
Oh.
We'll fix that.
Spread it.
Yeah, if you want. I'm gonna torch it a bit though. Dan, I'm gonna squeeze to your left. That heart looks great, Kit.
Awesome.
Mateo?
So just grind this whole top part.
No problem.
Yeah, I mean, we made it circular, but we actually would rather have it square. No, not for real.
Just need some facets here, a little bit of pachucho.
It's really light. You can, no problem for your shoulders.
Just, I will use just one hand. Don't worry.
Just one hand.
See anything else that? That's just air. Huh?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I mean, they should seal up, right?
I don't. I've never heard that happen before. Yeah, but it's filled. I think there are bubbles from the pour line.
There's a over on.
Everybody put their hand out.
That's how they get the handprints in glass, right?
I've always wanted to like take a post-it and just go.
Is that better, kid? Kid, is that better?
That looks good.
You gotta get it in the thing first. Brian, you want a face shield?
Yes. Yeah, wait until you're ready.
Yeah, let's give it a sec. It's still warm.
Are you trying to get your cell phone out? Wait.
It's still really hot. Let's give it like one more sec. Huh? Yeah, I'm glad you put that one in.
Oh, dude, 3 is much stronger number than 2.
Well, there's already one thing in
I
there.
didn't even go to art school and I know that.
That's gonna be really heavy.
I think so. I don't know if you need that, but I don't know how. Yeah.
You wanna wait? Yeah, let's give it one more sec. It's a lot of glass. Do you want me to have a glove to help? Oh yeah! Wow!
Why make things easy when we make them real difficult?
Wow, wheels! Marty. One more second.
That's just a pretty face.
Thanks, Kit. Mateo, Ryan, Ross.
Wherever you went.
Thanks, guys. I hope you enjoyed our little collaborative experimentation.